Hey everybody, Jake Reichbart here. Today I'm going to offer you a great way to expand your harmony, your chord substitutions using a method called secondary dominance. And for this purpose of demonstration, I'm using the tune Winter Wonderland, which is obviously a seasonal tune. It happens to be late November right now, but should you be watching this video in June or August or any other time of the year, obviously this principle applies to any tune. What is exactly a secondary dominant? Well, I'm going to explain briefly, but to elaborate more, I have a video in the description below that really gets into the details of what exactly it is. And I use for that purpose another tune, another standard, Taking a Chance on Love. So check out that video below, which will be a good companion to this video in explaining what it is. But just very briefly, a secondary dominant is a chord that you can insert in a chord progression at any point. And that chord will be the 5 of the chord that you are about to go to. An offshoot of that is that any 5 chord can be preceded by its 2. And another offshoot is that any 5 chord, any chord that you just inserted, that secondary dominant, can itself also be preceded by its 5. This will become more clear as I demonstrate, but as I mentioned earlier, check out that video below for a more detailed explanation. So when we listen to a popular arrangement, popular performance of a song, the range of chord substitutions can vary from basically nothing all the way to complete madness. And when we listen to a popular version, it will fall somewhere around here, which is to say not completely nothing, but obviously very far from, the complete madness. And what I like to do is not only take the version that we know and try to expand it, but actually go the other way. Let's simplify everything to where it really came from. What is the simplest thing we can play? Because that way it will give us understanding how we got to the version that we're hearing, and it will give us a better understanding, a better foundation, how to move forward from there all the way to the complete madness. So with this in mind, I'm going to play a version that would be something that we would hear typically played in the overhead speakers in the mall. I play this in the key of G. So that's kind of what we would typically hear. So let's take this a step back and let's go to the most fundamental thing that this could be. I propose the following. So basically, any simpler than that would be just to play the whole thing against a static G chord. So this version had the bare minimum of movement between G and its 5, the D7, to create some kind of a cadence, some kind of a sense of the movement. So I consider that to be the most bare minimum. So let's see how we can elaborate on that just a little bit by adding the 2 of the 5. In other words, the 5 was D, the 2 would be an A minor. So right there, we preceded the D with an A minor. And we can add it again here. So we added one chord. Let's move forward a little bit and add an additional chord. Right there. This G sharp diminished is really just a E7 in disguise because it has the 3 in the bass, and it gives us an E7 with a flavor of flat 9. You can play it just as a straight up inversion. So again. Why does that work? Because now we're taking this A minor that we have logically already inserted and preceding it by its 5. That's your secondary dominant right there. Okay, let's continue. We inserted now another secondary dominant, an A7 to proceed. Earlier we preceded the D7 with an A minor, but upon this melody, I'm inserting an A7, and the A7 is a secondary dominant because it's the 5 preceding the D7. So let's see what we got so far. All right, let's move forward a little bit and to another possible version. And this is not complete madness, as I mentioned before, but in my book, it is, good enough to create an interesting chord substitution chain that will make improvisation a little bit more interesting. And by the way, one more important point. What I've been doing so far is reharmonizing the tune with the melody in it. That is to say, I'm playing the melody at the same time as I'm adding these substitutions. So there are going to be times when not every chord substitution is going to work with the melody happening at that point. For example, if it's a 7th chord and the melody happens to be a major 7, it won't sound good together. My point is that we are expanding plenty already on the harmony with the melody. Imagine if we're in the solo section, if we're improvising without the constraints of a melody. We can really, really go nuts with chord substitutions. All right, moving forward, let's try this. What I'm doing here is breaking this measure in 2, and the reason I'm able to do that is because I'm in G and I'm moving up a 4th to C7. And even though I didn't play G7, it's implied, and in fact I could play. I can take this G major 7 and turn it into a 7th, a dominant chord, and it will be the secondary dominant now of the C7, the C9. Let's continue from there. What did I do here? We already explained, we start with a G, a B minor 7. Where did that come from? Well, the next chord is going to be an E7. That secondary dominant that preceded the A minor, if you remember. So we're proceeding now the E7 with its 2. So G major 7, C7, B minor 7, E7, and then continue as usual. Let's do that. I'll do that. And so on. Let me squeeze in another little useful principle, and that is the one of the tritone substitution. Every 7th chord, as you may know, can have a simple tritone substitution, which just keeps the main parts of the chord, the 3 and the 7, but replaces the bass note, the root note of that chord, with a note that is a tritone away. So instead of playing this C7, we can play instead of it an F sharp 7. So we'll get this flavor. What do we do next? F7. Where did that come from? Let's do this again. We are about to go to E7, we said already. Earlier we preceded it with its 2, the B minor 7. Here we're doing something different, an F7. And how come F7? Because an F7 is a tritone substitution of a B7, and the B7 is the secondary dominant of E7. So let's do that together again. All right, so we have a couple of different options to get, you know, through that those two first measures. Or any combination thereof. There's no saying that we have to go or only. We can blend those. Let's try that. All right, let's continue. What happened here? Where did this come from? These are completely non-diatonic chords. A C sharp minor 11 to F sharp 7, but we already have a hint how this would work because we already used an F sharp 7 a little bit earlier. So we found a way to include this because the F sharp 7 is the 5 of B, whether B minor or B7. And the B7 we already can explain because it's the secondary dominant of the E7, which is the secondary dominant of the A7. Putting this together would sound like this. Right there. Instead of a simple tritone substitution, changes the entire color of the arrangement. So I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. If you're catching this in time to perform this holiday season, that's great. If not, remember this can apply to any tune. Once again, click below for the additional video elaborating on this concept of secondary dominance. While you're down there in the information, please kindly take a moment to review my other materials that I have available. If you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, make sure to do so right away and hit the bell button because I post great arrangements all the time, a new arrangement every Friday, in fact, for the past 11 years. That's why I have close to 550 solo guitar arrangements on my channel that you can enjoy. I have great additional instructional materials that you can download directly from me. Check out the information below. Email me with any questions, jake.reichbart@gmail.com. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.